Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
It's wonderful to see so many people here, and I have to say it's wonderful to see how many Torah readers are here. I wish I could spread you out throughout the year a little bit better. Well, we can really see the year turning now. We have moved from the build-up and then the letdown and comfort after Tisha B'Av, and now we approach the high holiday season coming this week, especially to the month of Elul. The season is turning too, as berries and lettuce give way to tomatoes and corn. When I spent time in Australia, I was always amazed at how odd it was to have this season turn into spring, and I don't really know how the Jewish calendar works that well in the Southern Hemisphere, but be that as it may. And our Torah reading has turned too from the early books, where we followed the story of one family, to the story of a people, and now finally to a nation getting ready for conquest and developing a system of government. Rabbi Harold Kushner, in his book, Overcoming Life's Disappointments, puts Moses central in his discussion of how we can all meet the obstacles and unfulfilled dreams that we encounter, remembering that Moses didn't just have the triumphs over Egypt and becoming close to God, but he also had to deal with the rebellions of the people, the loss of his siblings, and the greatest disappointment of not entering the land. In these last books of the Torah, we see Moses in both contexts, still in leadership, but also in sorrow. In this parsha, as in the surrounding ones, he seems to be trying to impart every last bit of wisdom he has to the people. And here as elsewhere, it's a bit of a mishmash. Some lovely and stirring stuff, some mundane, and some pretty awful. Among the sections that we can admire and be proud of in this parsha is the very beginning verse, which we discussed in Torah study this morning wonderfully. Behold, this day I set before you blessing and curse, reminding us that the choice to do what is right is in our own hands. And elsewhere in the parsha, we have the familiar reminders to support the Levites and all who are in need. And we also have laws about remission of debts and reminders not to withhold loans because we are worried about repayment, and we're urged to rejoice on our holy days. All of that's good, and we are delighted to see that in the Torah. Then we have the sections that we might consider housekeeping, neither admirable or deplorable, laws about sacrifices and kashrut and holidays. And finally, we have the laws that we really don't want to acknowledge as being in our tradition. Laws about slavery, even though they do include setting slaves free, and laws about wiping out those accused of idolatry, including what seems to imply guilt by association when whole towns are to be obliterated. So what do we do with a portion like Re'eh? We do what we always do, we reinterpret. I particularly want to turn your attention to the interpretation of a few of the great rabbis of the last century and their reading of one particular verse. The verse is about forbidding mutilation because of the dead. If you want to check the text, it's chapter 14, verse 1 and the following, which reads, "You are children of the Lord your God. You shall not gash yourselves or shave the front of your heads because of the dead. And do not gash yourself." The words are lo titgodedu. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs points out that the rabbis of the Talmud play on the word lo titgodedu as related to the word agudah, meaning group. So the rabbis derive that lo titgodedu is actually an exhortation, meaning do not divide into rival factions. Further, he points out that this injunction is preceded by the reminder, you are children of the Lord your God. And he brings the example of Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, who is a great bridge builder, both within the Jewish people and as well as within interfaith dialogue. Professor Arnold Eisen recalls that at one point, Rabbi Heschel addressed the Assembly of Reform Rabbis, and later in the same month, he spoke to the Conservative Rabbi Convention. He told the former that they needed to pay more attention to Jewish law, which Reform Judaism had rejected, and to the Conservative rabbis, he told them that they paid too much attention to the law, and they needed to address Jewish spirituality. In this way, he was like Aaron, going from one warring party to another, one quarreling party to another, and telling them that the other person really wants to make up. So in other words, don't divide up. Don't divisions among the Jewish people or among any people. And finally, Mordechai Kaplan's Parsha Poems rewrites the verses that we are discussing in the following. Do not carve yourselves up into pure and impure, men and women, left and right, rich and poor, gay and straight, migrants, citizens, them and us. Do not slash the body that houses every being. Do not split the skin that girds you all, for underneath it, black or white, each one is my child. So let's all find our interpretation of spirituality and inclusiveness in the verses of Torah as we move into this new season of renewal and return. Shabbat shalom. Yeah.